Welcome to our study called Restarting the Earth, and we're looking in this study at Genesis 8, 1 through 22. Last time we left our friend Noah adrift in the ark. He, along with his family and all the animals, were brought into the ark where they had been saved from the dangers of the flood. The waters prevailed on the earth for 150 days. That's a long time. For 5 months, the water rose and covered everything. And it also included all the mountains. Everything was gone. What would happen to Noah was the question. Would the flood waters finally recede? Would they be able to hold out on the ark long enough to survive? It's a long time. When we read Noah's story, we must keep in mind the two great truths that are on display before us. The first is that God is a God of perfect wrath. The amount of water and the length of time the waters prevailed on the earth ensured that all people and animals that were on the earth died. Even if an animal survived at first, eventually it would succumb to either starvation or exhaustion, maybe even exposure. But, Noah's Ark was not a happy time. It was not like the storybooks like to paint it. It was a scene of death, destruction, of fear. But we also must keep in mind here, there's a second truth. And that is that God has perfect grace. God has perfect grace. We have seen that already, beginning with the skin coverings that God made for Adam and Eve. We saw that as we looked through the line of Seth, and we saw Enoch there who had walked with God and then who was no more. We saw Lamech, and his cry, his prayer really was that the one that he had, this child, Noah, would be the one that would set them free from their toil, that he would bring a promised rest. We saw the grace of God going to Noah and how he did all that the Lord commanded him. So we must keep these two sides in view. And we have to keep them balanced too, that there's God's perfect wrath and there's God's perfect grace. We don't want to get those out of balance there. Otherwise, we're in danger of either viewing God as an evil tyrant, or on the other side, you have a helpless weakling at the mercy of his creation. Or you might even see him as some kind of apathetic deity who's distant, who is unmoved by suffering, who doesn't really care about his creation. All of which is not the biblical description of who God is. So who is this God that creates and then destroys? Does he care about people? Does he care about you and me? Does he care when you are struggling and there's chaos all around you and your heart is breaking and your life is a mess? Does God care? Does he see what is going on? Well, in chapter 8 here, we learn more about this Creator God. We find here that the Lord remembers, the Lord tests, the Lord renews, and finally we'll see that the Lord receives our worship.